Good evening, all. My name is Annette Latigue, and I am your host here at Word on the Curve podcast. I'd like to thank you for joining me this evening, and I want to get right into our topic tonight. I am here at Word on the Curve. You can see me on Facebook, you can see me on YouTube, you can see me on Apple, you can see me on Spotify, you can see me on Sirius Radio, or hear me on Sirius Radio. And we are also broadcasting from the Black Girls Locker Room. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to shout out all small business owners tonight and to encourage you to keep going. Hey, Bruce Boyd, I saw those t shirts that you thought about for Wilbur section. There's a whole city out here waiting for those t shirts all over the place. West Trenton, North Trenton, and East Trenton. Hook us up. Again, I want to thank you for joining me, Elisa Robson Carter. Keep catering. And kudos to Bone, your baby, your love child. God bless you and him. I'd also like to thank the pastors who are ministering to those in need in the city, particularly Reverend Boyer over at Mount Zion Greater AME Church for his work, his excellent work on salvation and social justice. It absolutely matters. Again, put our business in the street. This is one of those times we want you to tell everybody about us, and we want you to put our business in the street. Because here at Word on the Curb, we're talking about all things in the neighborhood and the suburbs and the country. That's right, everywhere. We're talking about it. And so, again, thank you for joining me here this evening. I'd like to thank my producers, Frank and Christina Sasso, for doing a great job in keeping me focused and going live on my podcast. So I want to talk a little bit about a few things, but most importantly, I want to tell you what I've been telling you for a minute now. Number one, stop giving yourself away. And number two is this podcast tonight is for men and women. Stop letting people test drive you. That's right. If they want it, let them put a ring on it. And that's on both sides of the fence, for him and for her. Let's talk about the fact that kings come with rings and queens come with quality. That's right, quality. So this trend of calling each other queens and kings has gained popularity as a form of endearment and empowerment. That's what it's all about. It is often used to show admiration, respect, and support of someone, especially uh, in our community. The terms of queen and king are often used to uplift and celebrate individuals, emphasizing their strength, confidence, and worth. But the trend is actually a larger part and movement of self empowerment and positivity. And it reflects a desire to promote self confidence and encouragement amongst peers, no matter what the age group. So, again, welcome tonight. Kings come with rings, and queens come with quality. So, let's talk about some of the things. Now, I want you to remember, I often tell you, I'm sharing my experience, strength, and hope. What doesn't apply, let it fly. And I want you to remember that this conversation tonight is subjective. That's right, it's subjective. It's based on your feelings and experiences. These are mine. The three qualities of a king is number one, respect. That's right. Calling somebody a king, as we just talked about the trend, has to include respect for self and others. That's right. Everybody doesn't get to be a king. Do we want to empower them and encourage them? If they're not, absolutely. But that title should not be given to everybody lightly. If a man is misbehaving, cutting up, disrespecting himself and his family, especially if he's married, when you married and you mistreat your wife, you sin against God because marriage is sacred. Now, I know a lot of you are going to come with some flack, but this applies to women too. Marriage is sacred. That's right. So respect is a big part of that word, king. Trust is also another part. You simply can't have a king because he'll destroy the kingdom. That's right. He will. So stop throwing that term around. Stop giving everybody, kudos and heads up. What's up, king? He out here slinging and throwing bricks at the penitentiary. You know what that means, right? Throwing bricks at the penitentiary, trying to get in, working towards entry. Yeah. That's not king behavior. It is not. Running the streets, not taking care of your children, not taking care of your family, or the woman you're committed to or married to, that's not king behavior. Stop giving these men titles they don't deserve. We're going to get to the queens now. Hold up. Don't get excited. So it's respect and trust. And he's also brave. Brave enough to take care of his family and not be led by what has become a culture of men who don't believe in doing that. They get to it when they get to it. That's not king behavior. So he's brave enough to stand on his own and provide for his family with respect, trust, and love. He's also wise. He knows some things and he's capable of teaching his queen. If he can't teach his queen, you got a problem. Stop throwing the term king around so loosely. A real king comes to the table, and we're going to talk about the table briefly too, with a ring. He's ready to be committed. He knows who he is. He knows where he's going. Once he's got a chance to know you, he's not playing the field, running the field, and participating in bad behavior. That's a king. Now, there are some princes, but there's a difference between a prince and a king. And I think you already know what that is. It's a boy is a prince and a man is a king. Stop throwing that term around so loosely. And number one quality, he always, not always, but the majority of the time, allergies, y'all. And I know you know what I'm talking about because this weather keeps switching up on us. But he also shows good character to inspire others and to be a better man. And he works constantly to do that. That's a king. Stop giving that title away. And stop letting people test drive you. If you're a woman and you're dealing with a prince, you're going to get what your hand calls for because that's a boy. Now, this conversation is only meant for adults. Mentally, physically, and emotionally stable adults. For those who are playing games, and running game, this is not going to work for them. Let's talk about the qualities of a woman. Why it's important to be a high-powered woman, a woman of high value. So being a high-value woman is important because it signifies a commitment to self. That's right. You heard it here. That's the quality of a good woman. Right? And being of high value signifies a commitment to self improvement, self first, improvement, and self worth. That's right. However, it is crucial, I said it earlier, to recognize that the concept is subjective and should be defined based on your own values, and aspirations rather than external expectations from others. It should be about you. Yep. What do you think about yourself? How do you feel about your self worth? What do you believe it to be? Are you a high quality woman? A king comes with rings, and a queen comes with quality. She is authentic, confident, and resourceful. She isn't afraid to fall in love because she has high expectations from her significant other, reasonably and surely. After all, there's plenty she brings to the table. If you're her partner, you shouldn't fall short because a queen comes with quality. Let's talk about that table a little bit, just a bit, okay? She has high self esteem. That's how you identify her. You know, a lot of the princes, not princesses, the princes aim for the little princesses with low self esteem because then they get to run game, be narcissistic, challenge, and be disrespectful. That's not a king. That's not a queen. That's a prince and a princess. Those are kids growing into adulthood. And some of them may have the age of adults, but certainly not the behavior. She has high self esteem. That's how you identify her. Don't forget that. Identify her by what she thinks and values about herself. Don't sleep on that. And looks are a huge part of the first attraction. But if you think looks equal high value, you're in for a world of trouble. You want quality, you better look for quality. She has high self esteem. She's kind and compassionate. And one of the most potent weapons that she possesses is her high value wield. That means she knows her self esteem is intact. And she won't settle for less because it's available or because she's alone. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. She does not look down on anybody because she knows what it would be like if she were in their shoes. Therefore, she uses her kind heart to make ways for people and change their lives. That's usually her king, right? Not change him, change his life, change his lifestyle, help him upgrade, work together as a unit. So many people get confused about who brings what to the table. We'll get to that. We're getting to that table. She's also dedicated to learning more. She knows that ignorance is a disease, and the only way she can continue to grow is to learn. Those are just some of the qualities of a high quality woman, if that's what you want, a high value woman. She knows that ignorance is a disease and detriment to her growth. It's detrimental to her growth. Hence, high quality woman continues to upgrade herself. That's right. She continues to upgrade herself. She also knows, because this is part of the self esteem, that her happiness comes from within. People can contribute to your happiness. Another mistake people make. Nobody can make you happy. And if you believe that, you're already suffering and don't know it. Your happiness comes from within. She also knows, as a king does, that the king and queen both know that they're not perfect, that they are flawed. And a woman with high standards and a man with high standards knows how to accept their flaws, improve them, yep, and make up for them, as their shortcoming. They don't create facades to hide them. And they are not afraid to show their weaknesses. Those are kings and queens. So, If you're letting anybody test drive you, you're going to get what your hand calls for. Because a real king is not interested in a test drive. He's interested in putting that ring on your finger and committing to you. hmm That's a real king. Yep. After getting to know you, this is not automatic stuff. It takes time. They have to get to know you, but they don't come. A real king doesn't come with all that game and playing and going back and forth and you know hide and seek. They don't do that. Caspers do that. That's a ghost. They do that. That's how they operate. But a real king doesn't do that. Little boys do. And so, in the king and the queen scenario, they're both working on it. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you that it is in your best interest if you want to grow, if you want to build. You know what? I found out a lot of people are not interested in building, but if you want to grow and build with somebody, get a king and stop throwing the term around so loosely. And gentlemen, you get a queen and make sure there's quality there. It's not in the looks. It's not in the reconstructed body. You know, the BBLs, the lifts, the snatches. It's not in that. All of that's okay if that's what you want, but that's not where you find your quality. I already gave you a heads up, right? Let's talk about the table a little bit, and then we're going to wrap this up. So everybody talks about what you bring to the table. When you're looking for your queen and you're looking for quality, I want you to understand that the queen sitting at the table, once you realize there's quality, right, is significant in and of itself. She births the nation. That's right. Sometimes with the wrong people. The princes and not the kings. But I digress. But she brings herself to the table. She brings, when you see that quality in her that I just mentioned, she brings the opportunity for you to build and grow together. That's right. And she doesn't have a problem being led in love. Not control, but led in love. That's what a king brings to the table. See, she brings the purpose, right? The full purpose. He brings the plan, the purpose and the plan. And together they build kingdoms. They start and build businesses. They can buy property because they've planned, right? And where he's weak, she's strong. And where he's weak, or she's weak, he's strong. And where he's weak, she's strong. You got that? So we lift each other up. That's what king and queens do. But we're running around out here test driving everything, right? And acting as if everybody deserves the title of king and queen. Everybody deserves the opportunity to be encouraged and empowered. But everybody does not deserve the term of king and queen. Stop throwing that term around so loosely. Take some pride in yourself. I said this was for adults, right? I said this was for kings and queens as we just talked about them, right? I didn't say it was for the princesses or the prince. They have some growing to do. I'm talking about adult people, physically, mentally, and emotionally stable for as much as you can be, because life happens on life's terms and we don't always agree with it, and it doesn't always work to our favor, and we go up and we go down. But where there's a level of balance and stability, there you find your king and queen. Stop test driving everything, right? Give yourself a chance to grow and build something with somebody. We blame everybody else but ourselves for the fact that we don't own property. We let people come into our neighborhoods, allergies, and buy our neighborhoods up, and then we blame them for doing it. We're not buying them. We don't know about collective economics, and if we do, we're not practicing it. Some of us get a little bit further ahead and we don't give anything back. I told you today, baby, and I bring the receipts to the table. I am grateful for the successes that I've had as well as some of the failures. I'm grateful for them. But I can tell you in every instance where there was success, I brought people along with me. And quite a few of them can vouch for that. I did something that most people had the opportunity to do and didn't. And even one who is particularly in charge, who looks like me, but doesn't believe he is of me. He isn't like me. He's a different kind of black man. No, you're not, buddy. And that's where we digress. We make it up the ladder and we forget that there are people who should be moving alongside us. And there are people who should be being pulled up with us if they're not already alongside us. That's right. That's what kings and queens do. I'll be doing a workshop soon on the value of committing to a queen and a king. I just gave you some of it. In the workshop, I'm going to give you all of it. Interested? Hit me up at Word on the Curb podcast, Word on the Curb 29 at gmail.com. Word on the Curb 29 at gmail.com. Go get you a king. He'll bring the ring. Get you a queen who brings the quality. And I guarantee you your life going to change. Let's talk about the pot for a minute. We talked about the table, her purpose and his plan, right? Let's talk about that pot. Sometimes we marry and financially we're not equally yoked. But once you make a decision to get married, it's not about that, not the financial part, because everything goes into one pot. There's no his or hers, there is ours. And what happens is we get caught up in the Housewives of Atlanta and the Georgia Peach and Basketball Wives and Ready to Love, and we forget that we said I do. And in that, as long as you're not being hurt, it's for better or for worse. Cut all that nonsense out. There's one pot. Once you're married and you say I do, you've made a commitment before your family and God. Working against that is a sin against God because marriage is sacred. Have a good evening. My name is Annette. I am your host here at Word on the Curb. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for joining us. Whether you tune in now or later, we appreciate you. And you might not think they're watching, but 7,200 views prove otherwise. Come on and get some of this. Word on the Curb. Good night.